Hey guys, welcome to our weekly news show here on Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb, your host, and today we're going to be talking about yet another potential Indian startup IPO, the possible end of Ziffyhomes, a number of Indian startups following in Swiggy's footsteps by accommodating their employees during the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, some acquisition news, including Groww's latest acquisition, all of the latest funding news, and more coming up right after this. All right, so first up in the news, CarTrade, which is an online platform for selling new and used cars, is expected to file for IPO by the end of this month. With this IPO, they're planning to raise approximately 2,000 crore rupees, and when they do go public, they'll be the first Indian online auto classifieds company to do so. So CarTrade was started by a man named Vinay Sanghi, who was the CEO of Mahindra First Choice from 2000 to 2008. During his 8-year tenure, he managed to turn Mahindra First Choice into one of India's largest used car companies, but it was around 2008 when he decided that he wanted to do something of his own and founded CarTrade in 2009. Within 2 years, they had more than 20 franchise stores across the country and were selling 8,000 cars every single month. From there, they partnered with banks and NBFCs to offer loans to people who couldn't afford to pay upfront, and they also started to offer insurance, making them a one-stop shop for used cars. Word about this startup began to spread, and things were accelerating pretty quickly. And so in 2014, they raised $30 million from Tiger Global Management, Warburg Pincus, and Canaan Capital to continue pursuing this growth. Then in 2015, they acquired their largest competitor in the space, Carvale. Today, CarTrade has a solid online presence. They also have a very strong offline presence with 4,000 dealerships spread out across 80 cities. And besides that, they're one of the few Indian startups that's profitable. In the financial year of 2020, they posted a revenue of 13 crore rupees and a profit of 1 crore rupees. All right, next up in the news, it looks like the COVID-19 pandemic has claimed yet another startup. Home rental service Ziffyhomes. According to a report from NTracker, the company is in the final stages of winding down their operations, and I think it's worth noting as well that their website and app are basically non-functional at this point, and their customer care number isn't working either. Now, one of the startup's co-founders, Saurabh Kumar, came out and said that the company isn't shutting down completely, they're just scaling back their operations and aren't trying to acquire any new customers at the moment. He also said that their website is undergoing some pretty major changes right now, and so that's why it's inaccessible, and that the customer care number wasn't working because all of the customers' issues are being handled by the properties themselves offline. However, it's possible that things are actually worse than he's admitting. According to the NTracker report, many customers have had trouble getting refunds, and vendor payments have been stuck for months. The report also said that they've had to let go of most of their workforce, and that they've had to discontinue leases on some properties as well. Last year in May, LiveMint reported that some of Ziffyhomes' vendors had even been told by the founders that they were going to be filing for bankruptcy. That was a year ago, and while there has been a bit of a lull between the first and second wave, I can't imagine that things have gotten any better for Ziffyhomes. In fact, I'm sure that they've gotten much worse. But anyways, moving on to some more positive COVID-19 related news, last week we reported that Swiggy had introduced a 4-day work week, and it looks like now Oyo has followed suit. But besides this 4-day work week, Oyo has also introduced a flexible, no questions asked, infinite paid leave policy, which is pretty amazing in my opinion. Besides Oyo, another startup that's taking the pandemic head on by making internal policy changes is Zerodha. According to a tweet from Nitin Kamath, they've killed all work-related chat post 6 p.m. and holidays. Now, obviously these are just 2 examples, and I'm sure there's plenty of other Indian startups that are taking similar action. So if you work at one of them, definitely leave a comment down below and let me know what the company that you're working at is doing doing to make things easier for their employees during this difficult time. All right, moving on to some acquisition news now. Online stock trading unicorn Groww has signed a deal with one of India's leading mortgage lending firms, Indiabulls, to acquire their mutual funds business for 175 crore rupees. Now, to me, this acquisition really illustrates how strong India's startup ecosystem is right now. Groww is just a 5-year-old startup, but they're acquiring a 21-year-old firm. This acquisition is going to enable Groww to build their own mutual funds products, and they're going to be able to expand this new business rapidly because of their user base of 15 million people. All right, next up in the acquisition news, on-demand fuel delivery startup FuelBuddy has acquired another fuel delivery company called MyPetrolPump. With this acquisition, FuelBuddy will gain access to 100 new refuelers across 30 cities. All right, moving on to some funding news now. E-commerce giant Flipkart is in talks to raise between $1 billion and $2 billion at an expected valuation of about $30 billion. These funds would be coming at a time when Walmart is planning to take Flipkart public in the United States through an SPAC. All right, next up in the funding news, online insurance platform Acko is in talks to raise approximately $200 million, and this could potentially make them a unicorn. The startup is also reportedly thinking about going public as early as this year, and so far they've sold insurance policies to more than 50 million customers. All right, next up in the funding news, online grocery delivery startup Grofers is in talks with Zomato to raise $100 million as part of a larger round that would make Grofers a unicorn. Last year, during the India-wide lockdown, Zomato got into the online grocery delivery business with the launch of Zomato Market, but once the lockdown was over, they shut that business down. However, by investing in Grofers, they'll be able to financially benefit from the online grocery delivery space while also focusing on their core business at the same time. All right, next up in the funding news, direct-to-consumer personal care brand Mamaearth is in advanced talks to raise between $60 and $80 million in a funding round that would be led by Sofina at an expected valuation of $700 million. Their revenue has increased exponentially from 17 crore rupees in the financial year of 2019 to 500 crore rupees in the financial year of 2020. All right, next up in the funding news, bike taxi aggregator platform Rapido has raised $43.6 million in a funding round led by Westbridge Capital. With more than 10 million customers served across 100 cities by 1 million riders, Rapido claims to be India's first and fastest growing bike taxi app. All right, next up in the funding news, deep tech startup Cron AI has raised $4 million in a funding round led by Kitaki Ventures and Venture East. Cron AI's flagship product SenseEdge uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to map the world using a number of sensors. This technology has multiple use cases like autonomous driving, robot automation, and surveillance and security systems. Cron AI is going to be using these fresh funds to accelerate the development and deployment of SenseEdge. All right, that is all the startup news that I have for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please do hit the like button. That really helps us out. And if you haven't already subscribed, we post new videos every single week about Indian startups, entrepreneurs, and the latest news. Also, as always, big thanks to all of our Backstage with Millionaires members, our unicorns and our decacorns. It still blows my mind that you guys are enjoying our content so much that you're willing to put your hard-earned money into what we're doing here at Backstage with Millionaires. So thanks again. But even if you can't afford to financially support us, just watching this video through to the end is a huge help. So thank you for watching this episode of Backstage with Millionaires, and I will see you in the next one.